Hello everyone and welcome to round number 10 of the Output Racing League, live from the Iowa Speedway. We're here for, as I said, round number 10. I'm the Aussie Sim commentator. I forgot what lines I was supposed to say and when, so I kind of, messed that up a little bit. But we're here and live nonetheless in what is a fairly exciting track. Nice little short track here for these B cars to play around with. The low line is quite nice, but we could see some drivers trying to take advantage on a slightly higher line. We see there Corey Williamson in the 81 car, just behind Thomas Harmon. We also have a new face in the field in the 17 car here of Christian Budd. So it'd be interesting to see how he does. He is a very high I rating driver, as we can see. No, we can't see because I don't have the reference bar up, but he is a 5612 A class 3.82 driver. So guys, we're going to go down and do a pit party with the boys so we can show you how to drive around this track badly, because I'm pretty slow around here in these cars. But nonetheless, we're going to go and have a little bit of a drive with them anyway. Alrighty guys, I think we are back now. So we got these cars just quickly rolled through. We're going back to the live action. Not sure what happened there. The encoding software just decided to crack a nana. So we're going to go back on track real quick here. Because even though we showed you what it's like to drive around here, we still got to do the pit entry, which is quite difficult here. It's one of the harder pit entries to get in on. And now it's not even showing up the source. Why isn't it showing the source? There we go, now we got source. Alright, so let's try this again. We're going to do a couple of laps here to try and scrub off our tyres a little bit. Get them warmed up, a little bit angry, because this is a track that will really make your tyres angry. The rubber doesn't like it when it's angry. .937. DJ right, into the inside wall. That bird is coming back out onto the track. Matt currently P3 in the standings. Practice.
23.412.
We're going to come in on this lap. If you can get slowed up early enough, it's not going to be too much of an issue, but on the older tyres, even just doing it like that is going to cause great difficulty.
Start looking for your sign.
So now that we've shown you around the track a little bit here, it's time for us to get back into the action. See the 17 car on the screen, that's Christian Budd. Now looking at 38 Thomas Harmon, obviously strong here today. Currently the top time getter for the practice session here at a 22.262. Christian Budd P2, Matt Burgess 3, Corey Williamson in the 81 here, actually P4 right now. Although he was just eclipsed by Jaron Sanchez. So Jaron Sanchez P4, Corey Williamson P5. A strong showing for Corey here as he's getting up on the inside of Thomas Harmon. It's not something you hear of every day. As we're about 13 minutes away from the end of the practice session here. Let's see if we can talk these guys into doing another pit party. That is what we're going to try and do. Let's see if we can get another pit party out of these guys. Like everyone's starting to get themselves sorted out for the next pit party now. Mark up on the inside, doing a burnout against the inside wall. We've got the 98 of Jerry Glenn on the track. But Jerry's going to come in now. We're going to focus on the 4 of Jaron Sanchez, who looks like he's going to be leading this one off. Jaron is actually going to pull to the inside so he can drop back. So we're going to look at the 17 car. The league rookie Christian Budd, as he's going to be leading the field down to the green. No, Jaron's not going to be able to get to the back. No one let him. Coming out of turn 4. And they're off and racing. Got 17 drivers in here to take the green flag. Darren slips up high. Tyre Field's going to get up on his inside. They are 3 wide. Frank was almost punted into the side of Darren there by the 17. Darren get into the wall a little bit, so is Corey Williamson. Frank Isaacson just holding on there behind Darren. 12 of Matt Burgess moves up the track, and now they're 3 wide with Chris Champeau. Chris Champeau just backs out of it. Free space, but he comes back up again. And now Chris and Matt are 3 wide with Frank. As Darren gets into the wall in front of Frank, Frank gets into the wall in sympathy. These guys are having an age-old battle right now. Darren dipping down low to see if he can get the inside run on Corey Williamson, which he does, and see if he can get one on Matt Burgess as well. He has the nose up there. Matt's pretty strong on that outside line, but it's just not strong enough at the moment. Lots of action in this mid to backpack area. Chris Champeau and Frank Isaacson battling it out pretty hard just behind Darren. In fact, they've closed up to Darren a little bit here on that back straight area. Nice launch altitude for both those drivers. Corey Williamson now looking for a run on the inside of Frank, not going to get it. It looks like things have definitely calmed down from the pit party that we did with the boys just earlier. See Chris Champeau just getting into the wall there. Oh, that time a big wall hit for Chris Champeau. Frank just got him in the back a little bit there, and now Brian Pizzicemi comes up and passes the both of them. The checkup provided there by Chris and Frank. We have 19 cars registered for the race, plus myself as your commentator. Frank now going for another inside run on the inside of Chris Champeau. Like at the moment, these two drivers are fairly even. We see Chris try and squeeze Frank right down to the inside of the track. Chris with the momentum up high in 3 and 4 manages to hold on to the position. But Darren has given up the ghost and has gone to the infield. The 12 of Matt Burgess in some space of his own. Thomas Harmon is out front as well, with Christian Budd in front of him. As we're now just 6.5 minutes away from the end of practice. The drivers will be starting to head in shortly so they can start working on their qualifying simulations. See the 21 of Brian Chambliss on screen now. Currently P11 with a 22.675. Now Frank's getting into a battle with Jerry Glenn just in front of Brian here. These guys battling it out pretty hard. Looks like Brian now with the inside run on Jerry. Can he get the move made? No, Jerry's just got the momentum up high. Keeps it off the wall now. He pulls to the inside of Frank for turn 1. But at the moment, Jerry with the advantage. Frank not getting the momentum that he wanted off of turn 2. button 3 and 4. Frank fights back on the outside, but it's just not good enough. He gets too high, gets a little bit tight, and that gives Jerry the position. We'll go back and see the 81 of Corey Williamson. Got the 5 of Mark Pentecoff behind him, and Caleb Finn behind Mark. I think Mark and Caleb just got into it a little bit there. So all's good for now. Caleb with the inside run on Mark. I think Caleb's got some fresh tyres on that machine. That will make all the difference there. Now we see the 21 of Brian Chandler still working on the inside of the 98 of Jerry Glenn. Frank Isaacson just behind them, waiting, watching. And Gerald West just behind him, gets into the wall a little bit. Now we see the 38 of Thomas Harmon working on the inside of the 17 of Christian Budd. Got Brian Harris just behind them as well. Let's actually ride on board with Brian, who I'm assuming is on fresh tyres. Gonna go to his gyro cam to watch these guys battle at it. Great view to see these two high I rating drivers battling it out hard. Thomas, obviously one of the best that our league has to offer, versing Christian, a very high I rating driver. Christian makes a little bit of a mistake there, and now Brian Harris, can't believe I'm saying this, gets the run on the 5600 I rating driver. Can't do much with it at the moment. He does still have the inside run, and in fact he's got him, and he's trying to work over Thomas as well. Brian Harris with 5 lap old tyres. Thomas and Christian with 20 lap old tyres. So that is advantage Brian, as he has overtaken the both of them. Now let's go back to focusing on crashes here real quick. And it looks like now the 17's falling into the clutches of the 12. That's Matt Burgess, currently P3 in the practice standings, working over the inside of Christian. Christian running really high coming off of turn 2 there. Not hitting the wall, but getting pretty damn close to it. Oh, but he does get the wall coming up at turn 4. That's going to give Matt Burgess the advantage he needs. With just under 2 minutes left in this practice session. These guys are definitely not doing a qualifying simulation. They're simulating a long run here. 23 lap old tyres. They're using this as a dress rehearsal for a longer run. We still have some cars that are coming out on fresher tyres. So that's not me with my world record 800-second pit stop so far. 12 of Matt Burgess up on the inside and gets him cleared before they get into turn 1 this time. These guys are still running in the 23-second bracket with 23 7s and 9s, which is absolutely crazy. Considering they're on 26 lap old tyres, that is actually quite blistering pace. In fact, Thomas Harmon just did a 23.5. Oh, and the 17 pushes up high coming off turn 2, just about getting into Matt Burgess there coming off the corner. Matt managing to hold his own out there and uses the momentum coming off turn 4 to get the advantage to keep his car in front of Christian. I've only got a couple seconds left here, so we're going to go to a quick commercial break while these guys are off qualifying. When we come back, we will be gridding for round number 10 of the Output Racing League here from Iowa. Alrighty guys, we are back live down here at the Iowa Speedway. Qualifying is over, so it's time for us to go through the grid and see who is going to be starting where. Our pole sitter is defending champion and current points leader Thomas Harmon. On his outside will be the 17, the league rookie Christian Budd. Going to have the 21 of Brian Chambliss starting out of third, with the 86 of Gerald West second in points starting out of P4. Caleb Finn in a 95 will be starting from 5th, and out of P6 will be the 54 of Derek Myers. We're going to have the 4 car of Jaron Sanchez out of P7, and 8th will be the 12 of Matt Burgess. We're going to have the 98 of Jerry Glenn starting out of 9th, with the 2 of Chris Champeau out of P10. The 88 of Jonathan Hernandez making a return to racing here in P11, and out of 12th will be the 13 of Travis Massier. The 7 of Brian Harris will be starting out of 13th, with the 18 of Brian Beach starting out of 14th. The 24 of Frank Isaacson will be starting 15th, with the 57 of Tommy Bordeaux starting out of P16. We're going to have the 5 of Mark Pentecoff starting out of 17th, with the 81 of Corey Williamson starting out of 18th. 19th will be the 78 of Brian Pizzacchemi, and 20th will be the 99 of Dustin German. And starting last but definitely not least will be the 16 car of Charles Becker. So that is how we're lining up to start the race here. We're going to go around for 2 pacing laps to start this thing off, and then we're going to drop the green flag. Remember, the first green flag, like the first start of the race, will be on the green flag. All the restarts after that, the leader will have lane choice, and we go on the leader. Now, Thomas Harmon, as I said earlier, is leading the points currently over Gerald West in the 86, and it's about a 23-point gap over the 2 drivers right now. Things are close, but they could always tighten up a little bit here. As the drivers make their way along the back straight before we go green. Very shortly we're going to see the pace car pull off the track. Pace car is in. There's the green flag, and we are off and racing for round number 10 of the Output Racing League from the Iowa Speedway. Thomas Harmon breaking out to an early lead here, and looks like the 21 of Brian Chambliss quickly taking advantage of the inside start, working his way up on the inside of the 17 league rookie Christian Budd. Christian on the outside though, managing to hold on to the momentum to maintain that second place position. Currently Gerald West sitting back in 4th, not really doing too terribly much. He's got his teammate, the 54, Derek Myers, right behind him. It looks like at the front we've gone all single file. So things are just going to start calming down for these drivers a little bit here. But the 21 of Brian Chambliss still looking very racy here, just behind the 17 of Christian Budd. Maybe wanting to look for a position or two to try and maybe boost himself up into the lead. Just narrowly missing the wall on the outside of turn 4. Gerald West, who was running very high there in 3 and 4, was trying to look for maybe a way to try and get around the 21 of Brian Chambliss. Nothing doing there though. These drivers look like they're getting an advantage down low in 1 and 2 and up high in 3 and 4. Especially Gerald West running that 3rd lane up there. I didn't think we'd see people running that high just yet, but Gerald using it to his advantage, now making an inside move here on the 21 of Brian Chambliss. Brian leaving him plenty of room and almost gifting that position to Gerald, but he's holding strong around the outside right now. Gerald actually backs out of the move and slots in behind Brian now. These guys are just going to be sorting themselves out a little bit here, but we want to go a little bit back in the field a little bit here to see what we've got going on. See a battle just forming in front of these guys here with the 2, the 88 and the 95. That's Chris Champeau, the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez in 95 and Caleb Finn. Looks like Chris Champeau was the big loser out of that one, falling back behind Jonathan. Everyone getting so close to that wall coming off of turn 4. And now the 98 of Jerry Glenn looking for an inside run on the 2 of Chris Champeau. The 4 of Jaron Sanchez, league owner and operator, looking to follow him through. Currently at the moment, Jerry gets the position made, and now so does Jaron. 2 of Chris Champeau trying to hold strong around the outside, but Jaron does have his nose in front at the moment. And in fact, that position officially went to Jaron Sanchez that lap. And coming into turn 1 and 2, Jaron just solidifies that by getting clear of Chris Champeau, slotting up in front of him. Now we're going to go back and focus on the leader, 38 of Thomas Harmon. We know that he's good here, and he is showing it right now. He's pulling out quite a bit of a gap here. It's almost 7.5 tenths already. It's constantly evolving throughout the lap as they're going into the corner and coming out of it. But yeah, it's almost at 8 tenths of a second when they're in the middle of the straight, which is absolutely crazy to see. And I think we have a slow car somewhere, the 81 of Corey Williamson, going for a little bit of a spin in, I think that is turn 1. He's kept it down on the inside of the track, and no caution to come out for the spinning Corey Williamson. And he is now officially gone 1 lap down. And Charles Becker in the 16, also a little bit off the pace, but I don't think he had anything to do with it. But for now, we're going to keep on looking at our leaders. In fact, we're going to look at this battle for second place, taking place between the 17, the 21, and the 86. Gerald West still looking very hungry for that third place. And Brian Chambliss doing everything he can to hold off the charge. Coming through turns 1 and 2 again. It looks like Brian has just been stoic in the way of the way he's defending against Gerald West here. But that's going to be opening up things to maybe shake up a little bit just behind him a little bit here, because it looks like the 12 of Matt Burgess wants to try and get a little bit racy and maybe see if he can find a way around Derek Myers. But Brian Chambliss has made a mistake too deep in the turns 1 and 2. Flips up high on the track. Gerald thought he might have had an advantage there, but pulled out of it. And now the 12 of Matt Burgess trying to look for the inside run on Derek Myers. The 86 of Gerald West coming up in turn 4, getting the run on the 21 of Brian Chambliss. Clears him going into turn 1 in the braking zone. And he slips up just in front of Brian now to make sure he holds on to that position. That is now third place for Gerald West. Brian Chambliss fighting back on the inside now. This is going to be letting the front 2 guys pull away. And now Derek Myers coming up to the inside of Brian Chambliss with a huge run off the outside of turn 4, and he's got the position. There's now Derek Myers up in the 4th. Brian Chambliss going from 3rd to 5th in a matter of a couple of laps here. It could even be all the way back to 6th with the 12 of Matt Burgess now working on the inside line of Brian Chambliss. Matt, as much as he's trying to make the inside line work, is just not working out for him at the moment. As we have some fast-paced action happening here at the front of the field. So let's do a little bit of a through the field to see just where people are at the moment. Got Thomas Harmon in the lead. He's still holding on to about that 8/10 of a second lead as they cross the line. P2 is going to be the 17 of Christian Budd. He's holding on to about a full second of the lead over Gerald West in the 86 car. As soon as I click the right button, we can see the slow car, the 81 of Corey Williamson down there on the apron. We're going to have the 54 of Derek Myers sitting in 4th place here, quite comfortably at that. And we've got the big battle between the 12 and the 21. It doesn't matter which one's in front. If you just put it nearer to the number, then that's what the other one is. Looks like Matt Burgess going to get the advantage at the moment, but these two are just side by side. They have been for a little bit now. So these guys are going to be the 5th and 6th place cars, as it looks like Matt Burgess getting the advantage over Brian Chambliss at the moment. 7th place car is going to be the 95 of Caleb Finn. And just behind him will be the 98 of Jerry Glenn. He's looking pretty strong at the moment with a top 10 position at the moment, but still lagging just a little bit behind his other teammates at the moment. Hopefully he can start catching up to them again soon. 9th place will be the league owner and operator, the Ford Adrian Sanchez. And just behind him, looking very strong in his mirror, will be the returning 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Currently P11 is occupied by the 18 of Brian Beach in the Napa Auto Parts car. Just behind Brian is going to be the 99 of Dustin German, the 4th teammate to Gerald, Derek and Jerry. Just behind Dustin will be the 2 of Chris Champeau, who is in a bit of a battle himself here with the 13 of Travis Massia. The 78 of Brian Fitzcairn. This is for 13th, 14th and 15th. Looks like the 13 of Travis Massia working that outside line to gain the 13th position. And now Brian Pizzicami working on the inside of the 2 of Chris Champeau to try and take 14th away. Just behind these guys will be the 7 of Brian Harris. We make many jokes about Brian, but he's just a little bit off the pace tonight. I don't think he's quite comfortable with the car. Just behind him will be the 24 of Frank Isaacson. Frank's been looking strong in the past few weeks, but he's not looking too good at the moment. Hopefully, as the race goes on, he can start gaining some of this time back. And back in the 18th position, very unfamiliarly. In fact, back in 19th now, as he's just been passed by the 16 of Charles Becker, is going to be the 57 of Tommy Bordeaux, who is actually coming into the pits right now, so he's going to be losing out on even more position again. I'm not sure what's going on with Tommy, the inaugural and Season 2 champion of the Output Racing League. And bringing up the rear, 1 lap down, is going to be the 5 of Mark Pentecoff. And it looks like Corey Williamson in the 81 has been sitting in the pits for a while now. He had quite a bit of damage on his car, as you can see there. So hopefully Corey can get back out on track. And it looks like we might have just lost Tommy Bordeaux from the server. Now we're going to have a little bit of a look at this battle for third again, which has changed combatants a little bit here. Same numbers involved in his number, but just slightly different positioning on it. Got the 86 of Gerald West, the 54 of Derek Myers, and the 12 of Matt Burgess. Matt looking strong as the run goes on, and I think Dustin German in the 99's actually come down to the pits as well. Some of these guys are hitting the walls quite hard and it's causing a bit of damage, so it's understandable that a couple of guys are going to be going into pit. It's going to be a little bit hard to try and keep up with everyone as they're shuffling around in the pit cycles. But we're going to go back to the lead now, as that lead has come down quite immensely. Thomas Harmon, Christian Budd. They are now in Battletown. What was nearly a 0.8 of a second gap has now shrunk down to just about 0.2 of a second. These guys are going to start fighting tooth and nail for this lead. Thomas Harmon, a man that we know is fairly strong here, having to defend against the 17 of Christian Budd. Christian now looking to the inside of Thomas Harmon as we go into turn 3. Nothing really doing there. Thomas just going in deep enough to manage to hold on to that position, defending quite nicely. I think we've actually also now lost the 99 Dustin German. It seems that he has OUT out from the session. so hard that they're going to have to start thinking about maybe going for a pit stop here soon. Tyre wear is a pretty big issue, as they're going to start making their way towards the back of the pack now. Charles Becker is going to be the first victim on their list, just 6 seconds up the road. After that, we're going to have Frank Isaacson and Brian Harris. It all depends on how quickly these guys can catch them. At the moment, these two at the front still doing 23.7s, while the back of the pack, Charles Becker and Frank Isaacson doing, Frank just did a 24.7 the last lap, and Charles did a 24.0. So Charles actually not that slow in comparison, but these guys are still a fair way off the pace of the leaders. Now working lap 34 of 125, so that means we've got 33 complete. '17 is trying to pour so much pressure onto the back of Thomas Harmon right now. He wants to be leading just in case that caution comes out, because the leader does get lane choice for the restart. The restart is also on the leader's discretion. But we also got to try and keep an eye on this battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Although these guys seem like they have started to string out a little bit here. Gerald West with a little bit of a gap over Derek, and Derek with a little bit of a gap over Matt. These guys are covered by about a second here. There's about half a second to Gerald and a half a second back to Matt. So back to the leaders we go. These guys are only separated by 0.2 of a second as they're working through turn 2. Thomas made no secret of the fact that this is one of his better tracks when we asked him about it last week. He's showing that right now by having the lead. He didn't count on having a league rookie who had so much pace. That 17 car is absolutely flying right now. In fact, he's pulled right up to the bumper of Thomas here. Thomas is actually going to have to try and work at some defensive pretty shortly, I'm pretty sure. The 17 takes a lower line through 1 and 2. Looks like he's been saving his tyres a little bit. Can just hold on to that lower line a little bit better. As we see Frank Isaacson making his way back out from the grass. He's gotten loose off the turn 4. I'm not sure whether he's hit the wall or not, but he's still continuing to go. We're going to open up the radio channel now to see what these drivers are talking about, because they do have the ability to talk with each other. There's a 17 of Christian Budd now working the inside of Thomas. Thomas with that slight little bit of an outside run, gaining the advantage and holding on to the position. These guys now have 41 laps on their tyres as they're coming across the line. We have just a little bit over 80 laps to go, 84 laps if I'm not mistaken. But these laps are over so quickly that we're ticking them by so fast. It's actually quite crazy to see how quickly these laps are falling. And the fact that we haven't had a single caution yet, even though we've had quite a few people, as you can see from the witness marks on the track there, slipping through and going into the grass. We are definitely very close to starting to hit some of this lap traffic. The first victim will be Mark Harris. In fact, it could actually be Mark Pentecuff here to go 2 laps down, as he was just overtaken by Brian Harris. we're going to do a quick little check-in with our 3rd, 4th and 5th place drivers again. And it looks like Derek Myers getting the run on Gerald West coming off of turn 2. Thinks better of it, slips back in, and now the 12 of Matt Burgess trying to run the low line to get around Derek. We got a good and proper battle going on here for 3rd, 4th and 5th. These guys are now starting to catch up to the back of Frank Isaacson in the 24. Looks like the 12 of Matt Burgess has disappeared and reappeared again really quickly. The 86 of Gerald West held up by the lap down car. Derek Myers up on the inside trying to take advantage. Couldn't quite get there. Lost all of his momentum. Now Frank Isaacson gets into the wall in turn 1 to stay wide for these guys to get through. And it looks like just for the moment at the very least, things are still going to be pretty solid here for these guys. We're going to go back to checking out our leaders as they have just disposed of the first lap down car and Brian Harris. Caution were to come out, Brian Harris would get the lucky dog. Next person on their list will be the 2 of Chris Champeau. It's going to be interesting to see whether we're going to start to see some drivers hitting the pits here pretty shortly. And these tyres will be feeling pretty ragged right about now. They've been running for 47.5 laps non-stop. I'm actually surprised that we haven't been seeing more people getting into the walls. In fact, we might just whack it on the crashes for a second here just to see where iRacing will take us. We see 3rd, 4th and 5th getting around Mark Pentecoff in the 5 car there. As it looks like we're going to be focused on the 12 of Matt Burgess, although he is in a little bit of space by himself. Still trying to work that low line in 3 and 4. Not sure how well that's working out for him, but the 54 of Derek Myers looking like he was going to go for a move on his teammate there. So we're going to go back to that. Oh, there's contact between the 2 teammates. No caution has come out from that, but there was definite contact between the 54 and the 86. And that has just caused some drama. Let's rewind real quick and have a look at that again. Coming into the corner, Derek on the low line. Derek didn't get all the way down, and Gerald just kept coming down and has come across him. Slight little bit of contact there, which has actually allowed Matt Burgess to get around the both of them there on the inside and make his way into 3rd. But that is unfortunate for the 2 teammates. Derek Myers, the big loser out of that, falling from 4th all the way down to 7th behind Jerry Glenn and Brian Chambliss. Let's have a look at the 12 car now. He is definitely in a space all on his own now. The 86 of Gerald West. We should look to see if he's got any damage on the machine. He's got a little bit of a crumpled left rear there. But otherwise the car seems to be alright. As we see, Jerry Glenn's actually hit the pits now. So that could be the start of green flag stops here as we're just about to hit halfway. Halfway will be at about the lap 62-63 mark. So that could be when we see the pit stop starting to happen. But Jerry Glenn has come in and made his stop. He's going to be on fresh tyres here. We're going to go back to our leaders real quick. And they're battling. Good thing we went back when we did the 17 of Christian Budd, working the inside of Thomas Harmon. Not sure whether Thomas has made a mistake or whether this was just through them battling it out hard. But that 17 has the low line working, and he's working it pretty well as they're coming through turns 1 and 2. Thomas Harmon on the outside, just managing to somehow hold on to position. I think he's just using that momentum to a little bit of his advantage. The 17 working all the way down at the bottom, just digging in deep, trying to get whatever he can out of it. They're getting so close as they're coming off the corners. Cars with the old tyres will be getting super tight. It looks like for the moment Thomas holding on to the position. That's not going to stop Christian from trying his best to make the move work. But for the moment he does concede the battle and slips back in behind Thomas Harmon. As they're starting to catch up to Chris Champeau. They've only got about 1 second until they hit him. So it's definitely some close, hard, fast racing here for these guys. And it looks like the weather outside my window is starting to turn a little bit sour. It looks like we might get a little bit of rain here in my area. It's not good. I don't want rain, I want sunshine. But either way, the 17 of Christian Budd still looking fairly strong there on the low line. Both of them taking the low line this time as they're trying to work their way around the two of Chris Champeau. Chris, probably fairly oblivious to the action going on behind him, stays up high. Now Thomas Harmon and Christian Budd both working that low line, getting around Chris Champeau quite easily there.
Pitting in, Q is pitting in.
And now Chris Champeau has announced that he's coming into the pits. Gerald West, I think, is also in the pits as well here. In fact, Gerald West is lap down. Yep, he's just hit his pit box.
Pitting in, 7, pitting in, go high.
Now we've got Derek Myers coming into the pits this time as well. As that magical lap 61-62 that I was talking about earlier. This is pretty much the halfway point of the race. In fact, right now as they hit the back straight, it is exactly halfway. And the second place car, the 17 Christian Budd, coming into the pits this time. He's looking at getting a little bit of an undercut here on Thomas Harmon by having the slightly fresher tyres. Thomas still managing to stay out on this old set of tyres. Will we see Thomas come in this time? No, Thomas stays out. Thomas is not going to react to the early pit stop by Christian Budd. We've got Jonathan Hernandez coming into the pits. You can see the 4 Darren Sanchez coming out of the pits. There's only 3 cars who have not pitted. That's Thomas, Matt Burgess, and Brian Chambliss. As we see Thomas still ignoring the pit stop window. In fact, Travis Massia hasn't pitted either. Probably see him coming in soon. Brian Harris, it looks like he hasn't pitted yet. Mark Pentecup in the 5 hasn't pitted either. Matt Burgess has just come into the pits. Now the 4 Jaron Sanchez, fresh tyres, freshly out of the pits. Trying to work over Thomas Harmon here. Thomas might be trying to hope for a caution. I don't think that's a fairly smart move here. But if that's the way he wants to play it, then that's up to him. It worked out for Derek last week. I'm not sure whether it will work out for Thomas here today. Thomas is just letting everyone go by on his inside. Because it's only him and Brian Chambliss in the lead lap cars waiting to pit. And now Thomas is coming to the pits. Ryan Pizzicami coming to the pits this time as well. And I think Brian Chambliss coming into the pits also. So with this, everyone should have pitted. Christian Budd being out there for 5 laps on these fresh tyres, he's going to have a pretty big advantage for when Thomas comes back out of the pits. as we see some big 11s is left there in the pit box of the 17 of Christian Budd. Let's see how Thomas does coming out of his box. He's nicely centered in his box. I do believe he has been overtaken by quite a few of the drivers. In fact, I think Thomas has slipped all the way back to 5th at the moment. He's going to have a hard time even holding on to that, with 6th place Derek Myers coming up behind him as well. Looks like he's back on track and back up to speed. The main thing is here that Thomas Harmon is going to have 7-lap fresher tyres than Christian Budd. And he's already got quite fresher tyres compared to Gerald West and Jerry Glenn. It'll be interesting to see how Thomas is going to recover from this and catch up. And speaking of Gerald West and Jerry Glenn, oh, we got a punterino. The 2 of Chris Champeau just punted the 98 of Caleb Finn. Oh, Jerry Glenn, sorry. And it looks like things are all right there for them. Jerry managing to hold on to that. Jerry actually doing really well up here in 3rd right now, after being buried back in the pack a little bit there before the pit stop cycle. But out of everyone, Jerry actually on the oldest tyres. So he's at quite the disadvantage right now. Especially considering Thomas Harmon only 2 seconds behind him right now. Thomas going to be looking to catch up fairly shortly. So while we got everyone a little bit strung out here, let's go through the field, see where everyone's at. 17 of Christian Budd leading the way. And we're going to have the 86 of Gerald West sitting in P2. 98 of Jerry Glenn, we alluded to before, sitting in 3rd. We're going to have the 38 of Thomas Harmon in 4th. But he's going to start making his way up the field fairly shortly. Then 5th place, we've actually got a battle. The 12 of Matt Burgess and the 54 of Derek Myers. These guys were battling it out before and they're starting to battle it out again. This is for 5th and 6th positions. 7th place is going to be the 4 of Jaron Sanchez, who has to contend with the 95 of Caleb Finn just behind him. 9th place is going to be the 21 of Brian Chambers, who was so strong earlier, and now just in a little bit of no man's land. The 18 of Brian Beach just behind him. And that is the top 10, and that is actually everyone who is still on the lead lap. As Christian Budd is actually just 2.8 seconds behind Brian Beach here. So we're going to set iRacing to focus on crashes, and we're just going to watch whatever it lands on. At the moment, iRacing has said Jerry Glenn is the one to watch, but now he's moved up to Thomas Harmon. Thomas Harmon carving his way through these lap down cars with his much fresher tyres than everyone he's around. Thomas definitely one of the quick boys of the league, as we see Jaron Sanchez coming in for another pit stop. Now that's very unexpected from Jaron Sanchez. He was holding on to a top 10 position and now he's in the pits and falling down the order. Alright guys, while we're at this point of the race, we've got 48 to go. We're going to go to a quick commercial break so I can take a quick breath and have something to drink. And when we come back, we'll wrap up this race and see who our champion of Iowa is going to be. Alrighty guys, we are back live down here at the Iowa Speedway, and as you can see on screen, Thomas Harmon has overtaken Gerald West for the second position. Gerald actually having to contend with the lap down car of Travis Massier, giving him a little bit of grief there. Travis on 18 lap old tyres, Gerald on 24 lap old tyres, so that's just a little bit of the tyre parity going on there. But now Thomas Harmon only 4.5 seconds behind the leader, Christian Budd. In fact, Christian just dropped a whole bunch of time. Christian's still in the lead, but he's starting to fall into the clutches of Thomas Harmon. In fact, Brian Harris and Jonathan Hernandez with fresher tyres than Christian Budd just behind him. Not exactly letting him go quite easily here either. Thomas Harmon with the freshest tyres of the bunch, besides Jaron Sanchez, looking to catch up here and try and get that lead back away from Christian. But there's about 5 laps different between the tyres that Thomas has and that Christian has. And that 5 laps could really be a lot of time, especially towards the end of the race if we go green the whole way, which I don't think we've actually done yet this season. So that's an incredible stat there alone. We could have a very interesting fight here for the final few laps. So we see just in front of Christian, we got Frank Isaacson in the 24 and Brian Beach in the 18, 9th and 14th places there. Brian Beach 9th, Frank Isaacson 14th. So it's going to be interesting to see how Christian is going to deal with this traffic, because I don't think we've actually watched him deal with lap traffic yet. Now we've seen some of the other guys down the order a little bit deal with the lap traffic, but we haven't watched Christian do it. Looks like the traffic is going to play very nice with him here. Frank Isaacson staying up high for our leader. Christian, the league rookie, this is his first race with our league. Absolutely incredible, with just 37 laps to go. He's absolutely dominating it right now, but Thomas Harmon in the 38 with his 5-lap pressure tyres is definitely getting a wriggle on as he works his way around Jonathan Hernandez in the 88 car. It's amazing that the 5 laps difference in the tyres created such a large gap when Thomas came out of the pits. But Thomas is definitely reeling back every millisecond of that right now. Thomas is about to start working on the tail of Brian Harris. Christian Budd is going to be starting to work on the tail of Brian Beach. Let's go and have a quick little look at Gerald West here. Gerald currently in 3rd, working on the back of the 11th place car, the 13th of Travis Massier. But just behind Gerald, 1.4, 1.5 back is going to be the 12 of Matt Burgess. Behind Matt is going to be the 54 Derek Myers with a great recovery after dropping all the way down to 7th place earlier after contact with his teammate Gerald. So these guys are fighting tooth and nail to try and get whatever advantage they can over each other here at the back. At the front, it's still looking like just under 2.5 seconds is going to be the gap maintained so far. As now Thomas is working on the tail of Frank Isaacson. Gets up on his inside quite easily here, but now he's starting to experiment with them alternate dimensions. That's going to make things interesting as we continue on the race. At 17 of Christian Budd trying to work on the inside of Brian Beach. Brian Beach the last car on the lead lap at the moment. Working a mid-ish sort of line there. Brian Beach has the exact same tyre health as what Christian Budd has, so they came in on similar laps. Christian now working the inside of Brian. Brian staying up high. Brian's not going to make it easy for him coming off the corner, as Brian wants to try and keep that lead lap position. Doesn't want to be the first car a lap down. And that's just going to work in Thomas Harmon's favour here. Thomas has now closed the gap to just about 2 seconds. As Christian there had to check up a little bit for Brian Beach. Almost getting into him coming off of turn 4. Brian trying to mount a fight back as well on our leader. But he can't quite do it, just doesn't quite have the pace to get his lap back. But that has definitely invited Thomas Harmon to close up. 1.7 seconds is the gap as they come across the line. Thomas can smell the blood in the water, and he is flying right now, trying to get every single inch that he can back on the 17. Now Christian Budd's going to have quite a bit of clear track in front of him here, whereas Thomas still has to get around Brian Beach before he can even attempt to get the overtake on Christian. Our points leader and defending champion still has an uphill struggle here to try and get the win. I think Brian's going to make it a little bit easier for Thomas than what he did Christian. Christian was a bit of an unknown to us here in the league when he started this race. He's quickly proven his worth. Thomas, the old hand, trying to get back what is rightfully his in his eyes. Thomas now working the inside of Brian Beach, very easily gets him in 1 and 2. We still have the radio channels open so we can hear what the drivers are saying when they say it. Thomas now within a second of Christian. If these were the A cars, he would definitely be in that draft. Like, there is still draft with the B cars, but it's not as potent as what it is in the A cars. But Thomas using that to his advantage. Only 0.8 of a second. Dropped down to half a second as they're getting into the corners. Thomas can definitely smell the blood in the water now. 25 laps to go. Make that 24 now as they cross the line. Thomas, cool, calm and calculated. Just charging his way towards the rear end of Christian Budd. Christian starting to pick up the pace a little bit here, but he's still got nothing over Thomas. Thomas gained 2.2 of a second on him on that last lap. What's it going to be this time as they cross the line? And this time Thomas pulls back another 1/10 of a second on Christian. One thing about draft, it's great in a straight line, but in a corner you can get a little bit of a push. Slow you up a little bit here. Thomas dealing with that and still charging. But just about within 20 laps to go. 2 laps removed from that actually. You see Thomas getting very close to that 17 car now. The 5 laps difference in their tyres would be making all the difference. As Thomas pulled up another 2/10 on him in that lap. But they weren't the fastest times for the lap. In fact, no, it wasn't 2/10. It was only about 1/10 there. As the 5 of Mark Pentecoff very smartly gets out of the way of our leaders. And now the 38 of Thomas Harmon looking to make the move on the inside of the 17. He's got the overlap. He is there. There will be a spotter's call. Pulls back out of it just very slightly there in 3 and 4. But is he going to get the run coming off of 4? No, not quite. 17 just a little bit stronger there on the outside of the track. That time Christian was just very marginally quicker. Only by about 1/100 of a second. Now Thomas coming off turn 2, much closer this time. Oh no, Thomas has gone sideways. He's managed to gather it back up, but that was close. He thought he was almost going to run into the back of Christian there. Managed to pull out of it, go sideways and recover it, but now his tyres will be screaming in pain. More so than if he didn't make that move. It looks like Thomas has gathered himself back up again here. Going down to the lower part of the track to try and cool his tyres off a little bit there. Thomas will probably be hoping for a caution here shortly, actually. Because I think that little bit of a slide just might have damaged his tyres quite a bit there. And it looks like we might actually have another little battle going on in the pack. The 54 Derek Myers and the 86 Gerald West going back at it again. And it looks like Derek with the advantage, working on the inside of his teammate Gerald West. And Gerald makes it very easy for Derek to get that position now. Back on our leaders, it looks like Thomas has definitely lost the drive to try and get this win now. He's definitely not catching back up to the 17. We only have 15 laps to go, 14 when they hit the start-finish line. But Thomas, with that 5-lap advantage of his tyres, lost it all with one tiny little slide. Now it looks like Thomas is actually really struggling with his tyres. It's not very, it's very uncharacteristic for Thomas. Normally he overcomes adversities like that and manages to still prosper. It looks like Christian just had the more rock-solid defense. We're going to go back to having a look at our current leader, Christian Budd. He's making his debut in this race, and he's definitely impressing. Nice, clean, safe driving, and smart driving as well, pitting 5 laps earlier than Thomas. And it looks like he might end up coming away with a win here. So we're going to have 11 laps to go when we get to the start-finish line. There we go, 11 laps left in this race. And Thomas, I don't think, has anything for Christian at the moment. Thomas just dropping back. He's back to a second back. It's crazy. A full 1/10 of a second slower than Christian on that last lap. Thomas feeling the pain of the tyres. Oh, and the 17 has made a mistake coming off turn 4. He's pushed a little bit too hard and he's hit the wall. And that has just brought Thomas right back into this race for the win. That has just closed up the gap to another 0.2, 0.3 of a second after that one little mistake made by Christian. Just pushing a little bit too hard in turn 4. Now Thomas is right there on his tail. This is where the race is going to start to get interesting again. 9 laps to go when we get to the line. Still no radio chatter going on for the drivers. Thomas looking for the slightly higher line this time in 1 and 2. He had a little bit of an overlap there, and Thomas just about getting into the wall coming up to turn 2, just managing to miss it a little bit there. Now Thomas working his way through the bottom of 3 and 4 right on the tail of Christian. This has definitely just reignited this battle for the ages. Christian with a little bit of damage on the right side there. That was quite the solid hit that he got onto the wall in the exit of turn 4. Thomas now looking for whatever advantage he can get to try and make the move stick. As we come to the line, and we're only going to have 7 laps to go. We've got 7 1/4 laps as it stands right now. 17 getting a little bit tight coming off of turn 4, slowing up immensely. Thomas Harmon looking quite ominous there in his mirrors. Going to the outside. Thomas just looking after his tyres a little bit better right now. So he was definitely looking after his tyres after he had that little bit of a slide, just waiting for a mistake from the 17, and that's exactly what happened. As they're coming up to the line, they're going to have 6 laps to go. 6 laps for Thomas to try and get the move made. That's going to be 12 opportunities. This is one of them. Thomas not taking the opportunity this time, so he's got 11 more opportunities to try and get the overtake. And now Thomas diving down a little bit lower on the straightaway. Couldn't quite get the nose up there just yet. Thomas with a slightly better run out of turn 4 this time as they're coming up to the back of Brian Pizzakemi in 12th, and the 17's gone in a bit too deep and he's gone up high. Thomas Harmon up on the inside now. Who is it going to be as they come off turn 2? Christian with the momentum off of turn 2, managing to hold on to the front position at the moment. Thomas still sitting there on the low side. 17 pushing up high, and 17 of Christian Bud still holding on to it right now, as we only have 4 laps left in this race. 3.5 as they get onto the back straight here. Can Thomas get around Christian, or will Christian win on debut? All our answers will be answered in just over 3 laps time. Thomas with a great run off turn 4 that time, just about getting into the wall. He's really pushing the limits of that car. Working the outside line in 1 and 2, losing a lot of time there on entry. Diving right back down low to try and get some momentum off the corner. See if he can maybe get a move here in turns 3 and 4. Not quite doing there. He's much tighter to the inside line coming off turn 4. He's got the run this time. 2 laps to go. Going to be very interesting to see if Thomas can in fact get a run going here. He's got the run coming up at turn 2. Can't quite do anything with it just now. They're catching up to the back of the league owner and operator James Sanchez down in 15th place. Coming out of turn 4, white flag, last lap, last chance to win it or wear it for Christian and Thomas. This is definitely going to be the most intense last lap that we had. The 17 running up a bit high. The 38 is coming up on his inside. Thomas, can he get the move made? No, not this time. He's only got one more opportunity to do it. He could have laid the chrome horn in there, but he didn't. This is Christian's race to lose. Thomas on the outside, can he get the advantage? This is going to be a close finish, and the 17 of Christian Budd wins it on the line.
Heck of a race, man.
Thomas Harmon,
you had to speed
P2.
up me. I just got up front.
Having a look back now. Looks like we're going to have Matt Burgess finishing third.
Off and nose it into the wall, gave me 20 seconds of damage on the right front.
We're going to turn off that radio again. What an incredible last few laps there. That was amazing. As we can see, Christian now working to the inside to do his burnout celebration. There we go. Nicely driven there by Christian. Alright guys, we're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have driver interviews, and it should be quite epic. So make sure you stick around for that. Alrighty guys, we are back. As the rain is starting to fall outside my window, it is time for us to reveal to you guys who our hard charger for the race is going to be. And today's hard charger, the man who's been rorting the system the entire time, but managing to pull it off to a T, the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi. Brian, you are the most arse overclass person that I've ever met as far as the way that we do the hard charger award. Managing somehow just to squeeze into the cutoff period for the time that I allotted for the hard charger award, and still managing to get the hard charger. And this time we were talking while the advert was on. You were saying that you just wanted to sit at the back in this one because, you know, Iowa. You still managed to get the hard charger award. Congratulations. How's the race, man?
For me, I absolutely suck at this track. I took everything I could do just to keep it from hitting the wall out of every corner. I don't know how to how to enter these corners. I don't know how to like roll the center. It's just one of these tracks that I thought I'm coming in, a little bit of practice, I could figure it out and during the race and try to, mimic some other people's lines. I just could not do it.
Now, this is our first full green flag race for the season. Absolutely incredible to watch. So, what was that like for you? Were you expecting there to be cautions that, like there has been the past few weeks? Like a long green flag run and then caution, 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 or were you hoping that this went green the whole way?
Well, the green flag run, the complete race under green was a complete shock to me. I enjoyed it tremendously. At the start, when everyone was starting to get bottled up, I thought for sure that would be like the first caution, and then as soon as we got spread out, it was good to go. So I have to say, good job to all the drivers for being able to avoid each other as much as possible and just kind of keep it clean.
All right, man. Now, obviously, as the hard charger, you had to have made some moves. Now, with the tires going off the way that they did, if you made any slide or you hit the wall and got a little bit slippery, what was it like for you to try and get around cars? Not only like in just normal passing maneuvers, but getting around the ones who were hitting the wall and getting a little bit sideways coming off.
Oh man, trying to run the bottom and then track out and not hit the car on the outside. I found that to be the most difficult part of this whole race for me because I just could not see where the car was, so I was always being way too conservative with where I would put my car on the exit. So if I was coming up on, the car I could pass, it just took me forever to make it cleanly without sliding up and hitting them or just getting so disoriented just getting into a corner. So it was pretty tight the whole race just trying to get around just a single car. And then scarier when someone hit the wall and just fly to the inside.
All right, man. We've got 3 races left of the regular season before we go into the playoffs. How are you looking at Kentucky for next week's race?
Oh, I can't wait to go to Kentucky in these cars. I expect them to be a little loose. I expect it to be a lot of fun.
Alrighty, man. Well, while we got you up in the booth, who do you want to give a shout out to?
Give a shout out to Jaron for always hosting a great league and great race, and to you for a great broadcast as always.
Alrighty, no worries, man. Good luck next week at Kentucky, and congratulations again on Hard Charger Award going up 7 positions.
Thanks so much.
Alrighty, now we got that shambles out of the way. Time for us to get into the real business. And we're going to be kicking things off here with our 3rd place getter. Today's 3rd place winner is, of course, the 12 of Matt Burgess. Matt, you're having an incredible battle there with Derek and Gerald. And they got together and, you used that to your advantage and just blew away from them.
Yeah, well, first I gotta say I actually found where I'm supposed to be. It's been a while, so I gotta say it's good to get a third. Yeah, Derek slid a little bit and then got into the right rear of Gerald, and they pushed up, and I was hoping they'd stay up. And then just my line, if I could run it, I was just a little bit faster than they were, but trying to get past them when you have to stay a little bit low coming out of four, it was hard to get by them.
All right, man. Now let's talk about just the race as a whole. Our first full green flag race for the season. It's a excellent relief. I don't think we've had a full green flag run for actually a couple of seasons. What was it like for you?
That's actually what I was hoping for because I was practicing the long runs and working on saving that right front. So I was happy to see it go green. Last season in the A car, we only had one yellow. That was towards the end. So this is, I mean, Iowa seems like there were some accidents, but they didn't bring out the yellow. But seems like we always run pretty good here as far as staying green.
All right, man. Now let's talk about how difficult it is getting onto pit road with those old tires. Like we're not looking at that right now. We're seeing you working on the back of Derek Myers early on in the race here, but those old tires really suck, and this isn't the easiest pit road to get onto on old tires.
No, I actually came in a little easier than I thought I would. So then I actually had to braked a little bit too soon because I had 60 laps on the tires, and then I had to let off the brake and kind of hit the gas so I could slam on the brake at the line there and get down. So probably not the fastest getting into the pits, but it's better than here. It's so easy if you push a little wide. I mean, you're gonna miss it or hit the barrel, so it's better to come in a little bit easier.
All right, man. Well, while we got you in here, we only got 3 races left until we're in the playoffs. I think you are right up there in the playoff standings, actually. So, how are you going to approach these next 3 races, and what's the feeling like heading towards Kentucky?
Basically, I'm just gonna try to get a win, to get some bonus points. Right now, where I'm at, I should be safe. Even I would have to miss like a race to actually have a chance of missing the playoffs. So I'm looking for those bonus points. I was hoping I could stay up with uh, Thomas and Christian today, and just fighting with Derek and Gerald. I mean, lost some time there, but it was fun racing them. So um, Kentucky, I don't know. I'll practice it and see if I can get a win there. That's all I'm shooting for these last 3 races.
All right, man. Well, while we got you up in the booth, anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
Quick shout out to Derek and Gerald for racing hard and clean. That was a lot of fun. Um, Shout out to Thomas for another win at Iowa. Or no, he actually didn't win at Iowa. He came in second. So shout out to Christian for winning his opening race here. Shout out to Jaron for the league and you for broadcasting. It's always fun. So enjoy it.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Matt. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.
I'll be there.
All right, guys. So that was our third place getter tonight, Matt Burgess in the 12 car. Awesome run, last year's winner, and coming up in second runner up this time. And now we got probably one of the most hardest fought positions from the entire race. We're going to be talking to second place Thomas Harmon, as he's probably still recovering from the race. Thomas, amazing last few laps there. I thought you were gone after you slid your tires coming into turn 3. Then that last mistake by Christian really reignited that battle for the win.
Yeah, it was fun. I figured I was done when I slid him there too, because it didn't want to turn much after that. And then I absolutely blasted the wall out of four, like a lap or two later. And I really figured I was done at that point, but I just started sending it into the corners, hoping that it would stick and I'd be able to make up some ground. It seemed like I just evened with him, but then once he got that wall, I figured I had a shot at it again.
Now, you guys were fighting out pretty hard for most of the race. You held the advantage for the entire first half of the race, and you just didn't really look like you wanted to give up that lead. Then you came into the pits 5 laps after Christian. Was that a pre-planned time for you to come in for your stop, or were you just reacting to the situation of Christian coming in at that point in time?
Well, I ran until I couldn't really run it anymore. I only had a lap of fuel left, so um, it was real tight on fuel. And then I wanted to run it long enough that the difference in tires would make a difference on the track, and I'd be able to track him down over the course of the final run there. Thankfully, I got the opportunity to do that. Unfortunately for me, he got the win. I screwed up too much, and uh, congrats to him for pulling it off.
Now let's look forward. You're in the lead of the championship right now with a 33-point gap over Gerald. This is going to set you up really nicely as far as the chase goes for the championship, especially with your 26 bonus points there. You're going to have a fair bit of a gap over the next car, which is actually Derek Myers with 20 bonus points. So how are you going to face these next 3 weeks as we start heading into the playoffs?
You just have to take it one race at a time, really. I know that's cliche to say, but you can't look forward and forget a race, otherwise you end up in the back of the pack and wreck.
All right, well, let's look forward to the next race then. Kentucky. Not a bad track, a bit of a wide open variety, but still can get a little bit loose there. What's your feeling heading into that race?
I've only run Kentucky a couple times. Never in these cars, even before they changed the cars over. But it'll be a learning experience, and hopefully cars aren't as tight as they were tonight. Um, Tonight was just extremely tight, and not what I don't think any of us expected, especially with what we've been hearing out of the tracks like Texas and Atlanta, where it's nice and loose. But hopefully, free the car up next week and make it a good setup. Not so much easier to pass, but more than one groove to run.
All right, man. Well, while we got you up in the booth, anyone you'd like to give a quick little shout out to?
No, yeah, shout out to S2R and my teammates. You up in the booth, all the fans that come out and watch, all the admins, Jaron, and Albert for being on the front.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for coming out and racing with us. Congratulations on P2. Look forward to seeing you again next week.
I'll be here. Have a good one.
Alrighty, guys. So that was our second place getter, Thomas Harmon. But now, the man that we all want to talk to, we're moving on to the man who's won on debut, which not many people have actually managed to do here. We are, of course, talking to the 17 of Christian Bud, tonight's winner, Christian. Congratulations on the win, man. Amazing race between you and Thomas, especially in those latter stages there. Did you get a little bit worried when you hit the wall coming off at turn 4?
I would say I got extremely worried when I hit the wall off of turn 4. He had hit the wall a little bit earlier, and I thought at that point, I'm like, oh, he lost his opportunity. Don't lose your opportunity. And then 5 laps later or whatever, I hit the wall and just so tight on exit.
Now, it was a fairly hard fought race between you and Thomas for most of the race. What we got in the replay at the moment is just you getting past the 21 of Brian Chambliss. But once you caught up to Thomas, you guys just seemed to pull away from the rest of the field. And for someone who hasn't raced with these guys much at all, it's very impressive to see just how fast that you were driving with this bunch of people.
What I'd say is that that was mostly me riding Thomas's coattails. I was just really fortunate that we had a long practice and we got a couple chances to practice a few longer runs and realized that you had to save your right front tire. If you didn't save your right front tire, after 10 laps, you were going to just start going backwards. And he was really good at doing that. So I was just basically following him. And then, like I told him, I had a couple opportunities to pass, where I kind of stuck my nose in there and just didn't want to push it because I was almost better off just following him. And the main difference, the chance to win was going to be in the pit stop.
And you definitely took the advantage with having a pit stop 5 laps earlier, gaining a big gap on those fresher tires. Did you think that you were going to be able to maintain that gap, or were you a little bit worried when you seen that Thomas was staying out for those extra few laps?
Honestly, when he stayed out, my expectation was he would see me come and he would come in the very next lap. And he didn't do that. And I thought, okay, this is great. This is just going to play into my hands. And when he came back out, I mean, it was darn near 7 seconds. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to do the math in my head. If he catches me a tenth a lap, I'm good. And he was catching me 3/10 and 2/10 and 3/10, and it wasn't looking good.
Well, yeah, Thomas is definitely one of our faster drivers, and probably one of our better drivers on tires as well. So it's always going to be a difficult prospect. But man, honestly, those last 20 odd laps, the battle between you and Thomas was just absolutely incredible. And I honestly hope that we can see some more of that from you in the future, especially considering we're so close to the end of the season here. So you coming in this far into the season adds just that little bit of a wild card element into everything.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, my first race here tonight, I was really impressed with the league and the way everybody's. I mean, so much respect on the track. With no cautions. Was never even really worried there was going to be a caution because it just seemed like everybody was pretty careful and under control, and I was really able to just focus on the race. And you know uh, that's to me is the best part about it. And when you get in a good league like this one from my first experience seems to be, it's pretty exciting.
All right, man. Well, we got Kentucky next week. Are you looking forward to running around Kentucky, or do you have a little bit of reservations about it?
um I feel like over the years that Kentucky owes me one, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to come in here and maybe do a.
All right, man. Well, while we got you up here in the booth, anyone you like to give a quick little shout out to?
Honestly, just this league and uh, Jared for giving me a chance because he didn't have to let me in, and he said, you know what, I'll let you come in. Everything looks good, and so I appreciate the chance and the opportunity to drive with all the.
All right. Well, thank you very much, man, and we look forward to seeing you again next week at Kentucky.
Thanks a lot.
All right. So there we go, guys. Our emphatic winner on debut, Christian Budd. Absolutely incredible drive, incredible battle that he had with Thomas Harmon there. Was very amazing to see. But now we look forward to the last couple of races before we head to the cutoff point. As I said, we got Kentucky coming up next week, 100 laps, 150-mile race. It's going to be very interesting to see how our chase contenders manage the race. I was having a quick little look here at the standings while we're doing the interviews. Thomas Harmon's leading by 34 points. And then it's just 1 point back to Derek Myers behind Gerald. So the two teammates there locked in a fierce battle. And another 20 points behind Derek is going to be Tommy Bordeaux. And just another 3 points behind Tommy, it's actually going to be Matt Burgess, who's gained 2 positions this week. Brian Pizzicami has, it's a 3-way tie for 5th between Matt Burgess, Caleb Finn, and Brian Pizzicami. So that's how close it is at the moment. There is 57 points that separate the entire top 5, even though the top 5 consists of 7 people. So it's definitely going to be a very interesting aspect with only 3 races left in the regular season here. But we're looking forward to next week, Kentucky. Things should be pretty awesome there. Hopefully, we can get some more great racing in. Hopefully, another green flag race. That would be absolutely incredible. So until next time, guys, stay safe out there. Don't forget to check out the replay over on the Aussie Sim Commentator YouTube channel or over on my personal channel tomorrow, Corey Has No Life 13, or even come and check out the replay here at the Aussie Sim Commentator channel Friday night, Eastern USA, or Saturday morning Australian time. So until next time, I guess it's just ciao for now.